Hello everybody and welcome back to the Alternative Sports Show. The Premier League is so close to returning, so I need to manage all this excitement. As ever, Andre Dixon, my good friend, how are you?
I'm very good, very excited for the start of the season. Time to reclaim and bring back what's home.
Of course you are. Enjoy that empty stadium. You're going to be so smug. I cannot wait. And James Green, as ever, good friend of the show. We need a bit of professionalism here. How are you?
I'm good. I'm like a kid before Christmas. I'm so excited for it to come back. I'm so excited to see how it's all going to work, how it's all going to play out. Relegation, European places. Are Liverpool going to lift the trophy? You know, they might not.
It'd be nice if they messed it up somehow. There's still time. Are you ready, Dre? Have you already envisaged the Jordan Henderson trophy lift with a little pitter-pattering with the feet?
Yeah, the shimmy. The Jordan Henderson shimmy. Yeah, look, you know what, to be honest, we all know that it's been won before, and I'm not, without being smug, I think that it's genuinely good to see a good, brilliant team who play brilliant football win, you know, and go for wins, not just draws, wins. You know, we almost got that undefeated title. You know, we should have got that, but you know, at the end of the day, is that, you know, just us winning after such a long time, been 30 years, I'll take that.
I think James is an Arsenal fan. You need to remind Dre to savor the moment, because you know it only lasts so long. And as much as, you know, I don't know if Liverpool fans will constantly remind us that back-to-back seasons have won Champions Leagues and the Premier League. As much as Arsenal do remind us of the Invincible season, I hope Liverpool have a percentage of humbleness as well. No, exactly.
I can't guarantee that.
I still talk about Invincibles all the time, every day. It won't change. But all I say is thank goodness for Watford.
Absolutely. Like I could not believe. You know, it's one of those, that result for me, where you kind of feel like, all right, Liverpool have done it. You think like they could do it. They could do the unbeaten season, Invincibles 2.0. And I remember I was occupied all day because I was doing some very exciting stuff. I was actually on the way to the O2 Arena working with the script. And so I kind of do my thing, prepare my camera kit. So I didn't get to watch the match, enter the arena, say my hellos, walk into the green room. Actually, tell a lie, it wasn't the script. It was with Nothing But Thieves and Muse, to correct that story. But I remember walking into the dressing room, seeing our friends watching the matches, because the script don't watch football, they love MMA. So that would be weird. And so the lads in Nothing But Thieves were watching the match. And I thought it was like, I was watching like Premier League years. Because when I saw the scoreline, it was towards the end of the match. And I was like, what's happened?
Yeah.
What's happened to Liverpool?
I think if you look at, first of all, Liverpool's season's been just unreal. Liverpool under Jurgen Klopp, their development, their improvements have just been fantastic. It is a shame that the pandemic happened and we didn't see that continue, like a proper continuous season. And, you know, I do feel for Liverpool fans. I can't imagine what it will feel like to not be able to be there and celebrate, you know, lifting the Premier League trophy. And I really do genuinely feel for them. Before, obviously, the pandemic hit and that Watford game, I think there were signs that Liverpool were just slowing down a little bit, maybe just going through the motions. You know, it's unbelievable. They're 25 points clear and there's still 9 or 10 games to go. I mean, it's just, we've never seen anything like it. Their dominance has been truly unbelievable. And I actually think the break, in a strange way, has come at a good time for Liverpool, because it's been able to, it's for Jurgen Klopp to be able to refresh the squad, to be able to get them like fit and fresh, ready to actually finish the season off how they really would like to, because it will be a special season, not just for Liverpool. It's a special Premier League season by a team that, well, you've got to say it's one of the best Premier League sides we've ever seen.
I think go for it, mate.
No,
I was a Liverpool fan.
No, I think, you know what, we've got to be thankful for, you know, Man City for last season as well, because I think that what happened is that it drove, you know, the team on, Liverpool on, to know that, to pretty much you have to win, you know, almost every game. There's no, drawing. Oh, that'll be enough. Like the old days. It literally is like you need to win. So I think that actual mentality, if you want to be a title winner, is actually going to change moving forward, and it's going to become more exciting for teams moving forward, because you'll begin looking at teams winning, and pretty much as I hate them, Manchester United under Ferguson, literally you was worried up until the last second, because there's always scrape a winner all the time. So now I truly understand that, and I've got more respect for him, because like for you to keep what we're doing now going for the for 20 odd years is unbelievable. But it's a good thing for the Premiership. Hopefully there'll be more challenges next year, so it's not going to be like a one-way runaway train. But I'm happy. I'm a happy man.
I think for the neutrals, these fixtures do give something for every football fan, because especially match number 1, which kicks off at 6 p.m, is Aston Villa versus Sheffield United. Of course, Sheffield United are in a very comfortable position, but Aston Villa have a lot of important things to play for, not only for Premier League survival, but Jack Grealish's name in a Villa shirt is at stake too. And then on the flip side, you have Man City Arsenal, it kicks off at 8:15. There's a lot I feel like we've kind of missed with, well, I feel like I've missed in the build up to this match, is we're going to get the showdown, Guardiola-Arteta. And I feel like Arteta as a manager, and I also feel this with maybe Spurs, will benefit massively from this break to actually get a closer look at their squads and go, right, now I know what I've got out here, get my philosophy across. Because I feel for Mourinho, when he took over a Spurs squad, that was a steam train that was going all over the place. And it's hard to whip him around and get him into shape. And, like with Ndombele at Spurs, not having the most positive start in a relationship with Mourinho. But Arteta, on the other hand, has got hopefully a healthier squad. A couple of players that are going to be back to fitness, and actually can look at them and say, right, we could actually do something here. Now, James, of course, in the I say the pre-season friendly, the Corona COVID re-up match, 3-2 loss against Brentford. Can Arsenal do the job against Man City and hopefully help Liverpool get that title a little quicker and do it over at Everton?
You brought up a friendly defeat. Come on.
I am.
Goodness me. Matthew, I can't believe it.
Why aren't they winning, Jay? I just expect, if I am a supporter of a team, and Arsenal's a great team, I want greatness. I expect W's no matter what the team is. Look, if it's Barnet, I want an 8-0. If it's Brentford, at least you should be winning 3-0. So, I don't know. Like, I don't want to, this guy's
Dre, you're agreeing with him as well.
The man speaks sense. What can I say?
Oh, dear. Look. Friendlies are friendlies, and it's a chance for the manager to move things around, trial new parts of the team, new tactics, new players in different positions. I try not to read too much into friendlies, if I'm honest. I never have done. Obviously, if you're thumped 5-0 or something, then you might be asking questions. A 3-2 defeat, a very late goal. Sure, it's not going to be the end of the world. I think, though, the break's been great for Mikel Arteta because it's given him all the time to prepare his squad. Even though they haven't necessarily been at the training ground for as long, they're still in communication almost daily with his players. So he's still able to work with them. And I think that's going to be really important for Arsenal. I think one thing you'd say about Arsenal is that they often, certainly in the last few years, have really struggled on the road, really struggled under hostile atmospheres, really struggled against just these tough places to go and play.
But remember, Stoke always been the place for Arsenal that's difficult,
the
right?
The best thing that happened to Arsenal was Stoke getting relegated. It really was. It was brilliant. But the main thing is, I think, with no crowds and the way Arteta wants Arsenal to play football, I think it could be quite good and positive for Arsenal, the remaining games. I think if they end the season on a high, Champions League places, it's just never, to me, it's not going to happen. It's too far away. But they need to end the season on a high, play some good football, and then see. I think it's interesting. I think any of the clubs that have got a new manager in place, I think it's been probably quite a nice break. Like Mourinho would be quite happy as well. Not only to have the time again to work with the players, well, illegally, as we saw a couple of times, so to speak, in the park, but he's also got the players fit again, hasn't he? Harry Kane's back, and we all know what Harry Kane can do. If he's firing on all cylinders, then Tottenham are going to be very, very dangerous. But what I wanted to ask you both, actually, and it was something that, the Premier League comes back, and one thing we all do is forget what's happened before. Because it feels like a new season. It's like, actually, this is still the current season. I was going to ask you both, what's been your best memory of the season so far?
I know Dre's. I feel like it's just everything up to the Watford game.
You know what? I'll be honest. The game that I enjoyed the most, obviously, was the City game, because I think that it was a really good back and forth game. I think we made a statement there that where we are and where they are. But as a Liverpool fan, you actually haven't enjoyed any of the games, because obviously we want it so bad, because we came so close before. Then it's like nerve-wracking the whole time. So if I was going to take anything from this season, it would be literally me standing in the same position throughout the whole entire game. Like, it's almost like I'm Klopp, the coach, and I'm literally nervous the whole entire time. And the relief when we score and when we win each time is amazing, but it's not enjoyable. So it's weird where we used to be like Fowler and Owen, Heskey, and all those days. I used to really enjoy the games, because obviously, you just take a win if you can get one, great. But now, because the expectation is no less than a win, and because the pressure is on, Man City, you're always thinking, they're going to win, so we need to make sure that we win. That's where I just remembered it just being pressure the whole entire time. So, that's my memory for this season so far.
For me, I feel like I'm the ultimate neutral. Being a Portsmouth fan, I just want to see a good footballing story. So watching Liverpool's journey throughout the season has been really fun to watch. I feel like it's quite compelling, because the Aston Villa Sheffield United match has a lot of what I've been aware of throughout the season. I've been closely working around Aston Villa during the season, and I got to see a lot of Jack Grealish up close, especially during match days. And I was always slightly pro Maddison before this discussion really kind of took off. Then I got to see how terrible Aston Villa truly are as a football team when it really matters. I saw them get absolutely battered at home by Man City, and then in the League Cup kind of hold it back in a bit more. And every time, Jack Grealish on that pitch, and it's so important that I think Arsenal, as Arsenal, you know, James, like when things get tough, you want players just to keep headstrong, keep committed, and you could throw in an Ozil in there as a player that should be pulling the strings, influencing a squad. Jack Grealish, for me, being able just to sit back, not be biased, and go, right, here's a player that's doing something. He is a complete workhorse, and I truly didn't appreciate that until I saw it up close. And that's the same I would say when I would see Ross Barkley at England training. People would say, why does Ross Barkley get the call out? Why does Ross Barkley get seen by Gareth Southgate in this way or another? Maybe he doesn't hit a home run necessarily when he plays for England. We don't get to watch every single Chelsea game, but I have to say, when I remember one England session I was at, when England had just announced their sponsorship with BT, and Ross Barkley was in that squad, and you had other players like Jesse Lingard and whatnot, but I couldn't not notice how Ross Barkley is one of the hardest workers on that training ground, and that was, for me, I'm not shocked, because I don't think any player gets called up to an England squad if you're kind of half-hearted and come across as a bit of a wimp on the pitch. He's tenacious, and he's actually a very, very impressive footballer. And I think this is what's quite revealing. And in many sports, you get, and I think this happens in MMA, for example, we get a lot of people who are absolute killers in the gym, unbelievable trainers, but might not deliver when it matters on the big stage and on the pitch. So I think Ross Barkley does deliver on the pitch, but also focusing on Chelsea, Lampard and bringing young talent through. I feel like the transfer ban early on benefited Chelsea, but maybe started to falter in the bigger matches because his young talent haven't experienced these high pressure moments like Liverpool in the previous Champions League final. To have Trent Alexander-Arnold, Robertson's, Hendo's experience serious heartbreak. I feel that goes so much into the knowledge. So I would definitely say that Chelsea has been that. I feel like the story of Jack Grealish has been exciting. But also, I think something that will be compelling in years to come, James, will be the battle of the English right-backs, because we've seen Reece James come up, Trent Alexander-Arnold come up, Wan-Bissaka. And there's plenty more. If I'm not mistaken, about Carl, obviously Carl Walker is so relevant. Carl Trippier is actually getting another lease. Like, he is so happy at Atletico Madrid. I cannot explain. He cannot, when he's in around England camp, he cannot hide the fact of what he's that mate that will remind you he lives in Madrid. Max Aaron's Norwich is he right back as well? So
very good.
Right back.
Some players are going to have to look at themselves and go, I need to do a switch up. I need to do the Gareth Bale and move a little further forward. So, I mean, for you, James, who out of those right backs could even possibly hold the crown, hold it down for England?
Oh, such a good question. You covered so many points there as well. I'll tell you what reminded me. You know when you said about a tenacious player? I don't know why we're sticking with Liverpool so much today, but I always think about Dirk Kuyt. Dirk Kuyt was that player. Do you know what I mean? He was that player, though, that just gave 100% every game. And I think as a football fan, for me, if the quality's not there, it's a shame, right? And it's disappointing. But what's the most frustrating thing as a fan is watching players not give 100%. And that's all you ask. And so those sort of players, like Jack Grealish, he works so hard. He carries that team. He's been superb in that team. And there's no, he will be leaving at the end of the season. He will go somewhere where I'm not sure. But as regards to right backs, Matt, I mean, Trent Alexander-Arnold's just been sensational. I mean, going forward, he's still got work to do going back, and his defensive game for sure. But I mean, that guy could play centre midfield for most Premier League sides. His distribution is just second to none. It's fantastic, and his work rate, his energy to get up and down that flank is quite something. But English right backs, we're doing pretty well right now. And like you said, Aaron Wan-Bissaka as well. I mean, he's come on leaps and bounds. He's improving, it seems like, game on game. I think he's a real talent, someone to look out for as well. And then go back to this season. I mean, this season was dominated by VAR. We've probably been chatting for, 20 minutes, half hour maybe, and we haven't mentioned VAR, which is great.
It's refreshing.
Leicester beat Southampton 9-0, which is just like, when does that ever happen? Granit Xhaka had his moment at home to Crystal Palace where he stormed off.
That feels like it's a season ago.
It doesn't feel like this season, does it? And then you mentioned, kicking off today, Villa Sheffield United story. Chris Wilder, what he's done with that side is just amazing. And if it wasn't for Jurgen Klopp just performing just what he's been doing in Liverpool, you couldn't take away the manager of the year for Chris Wilder, surely. He'd have to be a shoo-in. What he's done, the position they're in, and look, the fairy tale might be complete if they happen to get into the Champions League. Stranger things have happened, right?
They deserve it. They definitely do.
I mean, for you, Dre, being, I feel like it's almost like the focus is Liverpool, and how can we not focus on Liverpool?
There's nothing wrong with that. Just go with it.
I think what has been exciting, and I think if you were to look into the rumours of things, another person I think we need to highlight, who I think we've forgotten has developed as a player throughout the season, who has been quoted by some of his peers and managers as a headless chicken. Adama Traore has come leaps, and but he has developed, and I really, really feel like if Liverpool should sniff at him. I feel like, imagine having that as an option of your speedy kind of front three, because he has changed. He's changed.
He's been linked. It's funny you say that. I've got written down on some notes here, Wolves, Traore. Now, Traore, I've been a fan of him for a long, long time. When he was at Middlesbrough, he just was rough and raw, but he just had this athleticism and pace. And honestly, as a defender, someone running at you with that pace,
no thanks.
No, thank you. No, I'll switch. I'll go the other side.
Very good. I think he's worked on it. Right, he's definitely worked on his finishing, I would say. And I think that, I would say, like, definitely before he was just like, he remind me of like this is way back, like Tony Daly, a rough raw fox like those types of players who there wasn't too much of an end product with their play. I think with him, I don't think he should go to a team that's going to, stagnate his development. So I do think he should go to a team that he's actually going to be a starter. So either A, he stays where he is and they improve his deal, or he goes to someone who actually needs him. It might be abroad. There's obviously, teams like Paris Saint-Germain are buying up everyone. Those types of teams, I think he needs to go to, because I think the more that he plays, the better he is. The thing is that I think, and what I'm really, really happy about where this league is actually going due to obviously the virus, is coaching is back. I feel that people are not able to just keep on buying the league all the time. I think that it's poor when team. Do you remember when Sean Wright-Phillips just went rather than to go to a team where he's actually going to be starting at the time? I think we was looking at him, and obviously we wasn't nowhere near in the same position as we are now, and then he rather went to Chelsea just to be able to sit on the bench. Like those types of things and those types of days, I'm glad are over with. Players want to play. Coaching is really important. You see for example, all I can say is with Liverpool, like we've got a few new players that are coming through, Harvey Elliott, Nico Williams and people like that.
Curtis Jones as well is getting
Curtis Jones, yeah. So I think as well, like obviously for Arsenal, you've got your new young left back that's coming out. I think it's more so a left midfielder, but you've got a few good strikers, attacking players coming out. That's what I'm really excited about. It's just seeing the new players that are going to be coming out, because obviously, with us, for example, we can wrap up the league earlier so that we can give some of the youth players a chance. But I think with Arsenal, what I'm excited about is to seeing like Saka, who I think is amazing. Seeing his development and seeing how he seems like a leader. So like those types of things, I'm quite excited about.
I feel like Liverpool are maybe one season away of being what Chicago Bulls was, in the fact that there'll be a point where the squad needs almost like an overhaul. Not in the sense that it's unbalanced, but you look at the age of Mane, Salah, and even for me at the front, it's like, when do you need a refresh? When is a Mane going to be kind of looking over his shoulder thinking, oh, PSG or Real Madrid seems nice. When will I feel I'm scared about the way the Mo Salah story will end, because I feel like it'll be very heartbreaking to see him kind of be slowly set aside. But hey, you could have a Liverpool with an Mbappe and a Sancho and a Traore front three. Now, how exciting would that be? Not saying
Sancho's a real deal,
but like there's a lot of players who would love to go to Liverpool, and of course the success of Liverpool will be attractive. But I want to look at both ends of the table at this stage. James, who do you think? I asked for Charlie last time, and it's a hard question, but I wanted to see if you had an angle on this. Do you think there's been any teams, or do you think teams at the top of the table benefit more from the break, or the teams lower down?
That's a great question. It's a really good question, and I honestly haven't got an answer for you about who would benefit. We'll have to see. It's such a, that classic word, unprecedented situation that players aren't used to, coaches aren't used to, managers aren't used to. So we just don't really know what club's going to benefit and which club isn't. I mean, we've seen in the Bundesliga, Bayern Munich came out flying. And, within 2 or 3 weeks, all of a sudden they've now pretty much a shoo-in for the Bundesliga title, whereas they weren't before. It was really, really close. Mönchengladbach really struggled since the break. Leipzig had struggled a bit as well. So, you just don't know. The bottom clubs, I think a lot of it's momentum. It really is. It goes down to a lot of momentum and what clubs were in good form coming into the break. And they're the clubs you'd look at and go, it's a little bit tough right now. Like Bournemouth, for example, right? Savaged by injuries throughout. Savage all season long. Eddie Howe's tried not to use it as an excuse, but it's difficult to not look and go, goodness me, there's about 8 or 9 first-team players out injured. They're going to be delighted to get everybody back and everybody firing. But what they won't be delighted, if you look at their fixtures coming up, I think they've got United, Tottenham, Leicester and Man City in a row at one point. And so it's going to be really, really tough. It's going to be tight down the bottom. I guess so much of this break depends on how it's been used. You know, for the clubs at the bottom, it's a time to, okay, assess where we're at. What do we need to do to achieve our aims of staying in the Premier League? Let's analyse the games that have been and gone. Let's look at where we went wrong. What can we do to improve on that, to make sure a loss turns into a draw or a draw turns into 3 points? Because we know what it's like. Any points now, between now and the end of the season, are going to be vital. But, you know, the league might be wrapped up, but the bottom of the league certainly isn't. You know, I wouldn't ever write off Norwich. You never, ever know with them. They, you know, got a great manager, Daniel Farke, great personality. I've had the pleasure of interviewing him. He's just sees the bright side of life. They've got it really spot on down there, and you know they will work hard. And I think they might struggle, but then you've got your Villas, you've got Bournemouth, you've got Brighton, West Ham, Watford. You know, Watford performed so well against Liverpool going into the break, but a week later they lost to Crystal Palace. So it's almost like all that hard work against Liverpool was just completely undone with a defeat to Palace, and then back down in the scrap of it all as well. So, you know, a lot, I think, with your question, Matt, just really does determine on how the off season, that break, shall we say, how that was utilised. If it was utilised in the right way, then we're going to find out in the results.
And I think as well, what is compelling at the top end of the table is those European spots. Now, I think there's so much to play for with relegation. I think as far as how the table looks at the moment, Norwich is sat at the bottom with 21 points, Aston Villa 25 points and 19, Bournemouth in 18th place with 27. So Bournemouth are equal points as with Watford and West Ham. Even, you know, Villa could say they're safe. You can't write off Norwich, but I feel like at this stage, it'll be interesting to see what kind of spirit they have at that camp, because you could sit there and look at that it's a long time, this break, and to sit there and stare at that table can be very disheartening. I feel like at the other end, as a Leicester fan, you might be feeling a bit more comfortable with that Champions League spot, but fourth place is all to play for. Chelsea obviously are there, 48 points, fourth place, but you know, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's been turning it around. Dre, how do you think like Ole's going to manage this? Because the young guns of Chelsea, can they hold on to that fourth spot, or has the experience of Man United going to do the magic?
I think, you know what, the shame for Man United is that they hit some form before the pandemic. So they was winning a few games. Bruno Fernandes was getting into his stride. He's a really good addition to them, for them. So I feel that Tottenham are, you know, to be honest with you, are the ones that they should actually be looking out for, because I think Chelsea have still got a paper thin squad. I'm not convinced, obviously, that's why they're trying to get Werner, of their striking options. There's something about Chelsea that I you know, that was good before, but I think they've kind of got found out. So I would say personally that Tottenham are the people who I would be looking out for if I was Man United or or Chelsea, because Tottenham have obviously got Kane back, they've got Song back as well. Obviously Ali after one game ban after that stupid joke. I just think with Tottenham, they've got their players back, so they can have momentum. So I'm not sure how with Man United it's going to work with, you know, Pogba coming back. Obviously with Fernandes, they're going to play them two together. You can't play them against bigger teams because they're just going to rip them apart. You know, Maguire, I've never been convinced with him at all, and this is no bias. This is just don't really see what the big fuss is. I think he's really, really overrated. I think, yeah, there's a lot more questions than answers with Man United, but I can see the answers with Tottenham for sure.
If you look at that fixture list, I think for international fans, they're not going to be necessarily blown away by seeing Aston Villa, Sheffield United as the go-to game. But look, we are going to love it no matter what. But across this game weekend, of course, as we mentioned, Man City, Arsenal, which is going to be, just for the manager's sake, it's going to be really interesting. But also to see two massive teams approach this restart, that will be fascinating. Tottenham, Manchester United would be so exciting because, of course, the Manchester United form factor, Jose Mourinho getting his Spurs lads back in shape. And I feel like Spurs as a team have probably benefited the most out of this. To have someone like Kane and Son back from injury, that is just massive. But then I guess, swinging back onto Liverpool, that's going to close off Sunday. Now, we'll go to James for this as the non-biased approach and knowing what you know about Arsenal. Do you feel like it could be done this weekend, or do you think it's too much too soon?
No, it's not going to be done this weekend, unfortunately. I think Man City, if you look at Arsenal's record at City over the recent years, it's absolutely horrific. It's one of them games that I have to say, I see it in the calendar and go, oh, we lost that one. And it happens. Same with going to Anfield every year as well. So, behind closed doors, who knows? But City have got so much quality. They really have. They've underachieved this season. There's no doubt about it. They've lost 7 games, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I was reading the stat that's one game more than they've lost in the last 2 seasons in the Premier League, which is just phenomenal. And you can say they've had their struggles this year. So they've been really disappointing. Look, I think it will go on to the following week. I don't see them struggling against Arsenal, if I'm honest with you. I will go on Dre about United though. And look,
I knew you were going to. I saw his face for that.
Look, I grew up. The glory time and glory years of Arsenal fans has been that battle with Man United. It was what rivalry was all about. We loved it so much. And look, for the Premier League, it would be great to see Man United strong again. Right? That's what I think. I think a great Man United is good for the Premier League. I think the improvements under Ollie, I think the fact they've stuck with him has been just phenomenal, because we don't see that in football. The loyalty shown to a manager, it's rarely ever seen. But they've stuck with him. They've invested with Bruno Fernandes, like you said, superb player, by the way. Superb. And he's just hit the ground running straight away. Pogba coming back, I think personally is brilliant, and I hope a Pogba fly-in can play alongside Bruno Fernandes in my eyes. I think they can play together. I think as long as you have somebody holding, like a Matic in there, sitting back, I think there's no reason why Pogba and Bruno Fernandes can't play. You've got Marcus Rashford, the man of the moment on everybody's lips, but I'm not glossing over what he's done off the field recently, but let's not forget he's actually had a really good season. And he's stood up this year. He's looked a much better player. He looked a much better presence. His finishing's improved in my eyes. So I think United, they're going to be a team to watch. And I kind of hope that they do just continue this run, and let's see where they get. I hope that race to the final Champions League place is exciting. I hope Leicester pick up where they left off as well and secure that 3rd spot. And we just then see an exciting run-in for the 4th spot. I really, really do. I think the Premier League's craving that excitement now towards the end of the season. But Liverpool fans, Dre, I think you might have to wait until next week.
So it's business as usual. It's business as usual for the fixtures then. So it's not going to be done just yet, Dre, but look.
I'll get the champagne ready.
You can get the champagne and ice, get ready, but business as usual. So all the teams that we expect to win will win. But what isn't quite as business as usual is the transfer market, because it's a confusing one, and I don't know how much this break will or won't affect this transfer window till it reopens. Of course, income has been completely thrown out the window in many ways, and without gates and fans, it's a game changer. How much, James, of an impact has this COVID-19 break been? How much of an impact has this had on the transfer window? And do you think that's going to affect any big transfers?
Huge. You can't underestimate how big it is. I think when you hear that Liverpool, Champions League winners last year, about to lift the Premier League, are pulling out of a deal for Timo Werner because of the money involved, you have to sit there and go, wow, they've really been impacted. We're talking about potentially Premier League clubs losing £100 million during this period. £100 million. They have to look at, like any business during this pandemic and reacting to it, have got to look at alternative strategies. They've got to diversify. They've got to look at how they're going to go down a different route or change the game. I'm not saying Moneyball way, but they've got to start looking differently at this, because the money isn't going to be there as it was before. We're not going to see your Neymar transfers. It's just not going to happen. What we will see, though, and it does slightly concern me, I feel like there is going to be a bigger bridge between the top clubs and the richest clubs and the poorer clubs. And I think that's going to widen, and the gap's going to widen, unfortunately, because you've got to understand that the clubs that are reliant so heavily on gate receipts are going to be craving money. Now, if they've got a prized asset, they're going to have to sell them. And are they going to get the money that they previously would have done? No, they're not going to, because actually the richest clubs still are not. They're not got that money to pay anymore, but they've still got a lot more money than the poor clubs. So yes, there will be an impact. There will be different moves in the transfer market. I think we might see some swaps where actually it's maybe a midfielder for a midfielder or two players for one player. That might happen a little bit more to balance the books a little differently, rather than cash actually coming across. Yeah, I think it's going to be a big impact. I think watch this space. I think it's also impacting the players. Yeah, you've got to think of players that are probably a lot of players still out there that want this big move and want to go to this club and that club. They're going to have a little rethink as well, because I don't think it's going to be as simple as that anymore. So, it'll be different. It's going to be different. And I think it's going to be different for a little while as well, until things slowly get back to normal.
Well, I feel like the papers were getting so excited over a number of names. Of course, one being Jack Grealish, who we spoke about, and the Manchester United link has never seemed to have gone away. Chilwell to Chelsea, obviously, has been a thing. Sancho to, as a Liverpool, is it Man United? Is it Real Madrid? He could go anywhere. So there's a lot of interesting and exciting English talent to make a move. But Dre, who do you think will actually finalise these moves, and who is just going to stay put?
I think I've got a feeling that Sancho will end up staying put, because I think that it depends on where Man United finish. I think that the finances with that's going to have to be a big transfer, because like that is talent that we haven't seen in this country for years. I'm a huge fan of his, not just because obviously we're linked with him, but because he's a unique player. I love the fact that he's gone over to Germany because he couldn't get in the team at Man City, and he went to a new country, new culture, which is not a normal English thing that we see from our players. And then obviously he's paved the way for other players doing the same things as well. I can't really say who's going to go. I think Grealish will go, because obviously I think that Aston Villa will finish near about, or if they don't get relegated. No player like him is going to want to stay for that, and they're going to want to go up to the next level. So I think if anything's going to happen, it'll be Man United going for Grealish. I think they want Sancho, and the players and the fans are used to getting that high level type of player. I think where they are at the moment, they have to shop in a different bracket. I think realism is going to come into a lot of Man United fans' heads this summer, to where you actually know, oh, actually we can't go for those types of players, or actually they don't want to come to us.
I like it. I mean, I feel like if off the Chilwell, Sancho, Grealish trio, Maddison, you never know, but Leicester have rightfully overachieved. They're a great squad. They've got a great manager. That I feel like that conversation with, and Champions League football at Leicester, why not? If you're a settled club, well, why would you move off? I think Grealish will be hungry to want to test that kind of Champions League, experience, Europe or whatever it might be. But a lot of teams, I guess, will have to turn to youth. I feel like that's something Arsenal's done very well this season throughout the cup tournaments and in the squads. Like Martinelli being a great example of that. A lot of great young players throughout Arsenal, whether it's been, Reece Nelson, for example, has been kind of getting more game time. What was the name of the lad that was over at Leeds and came back to your squad as well?
Eddie Nketiah.
Nketiah, of course. And Nketiah has been looking good in the friendlies for Arsenal. But also, James, I think this is one thing I want to ask you as well, is youth is going to be really important going in this next kind of chapter of football. And also with Arsenal, for example, you've got players like Lacazette being thought about. Is it worth selling on? Aubameyang is in contract discussions. So I guess what's going on there? But what can a team like Arsenal benefit from with the way things are at the moment?
Yeah, I think when we talk about youth team players and youth players coming through, I think you can't help but look at what Chelsea have done. You know, they were given their transfer ban, but it kind of came at the perfect time for them in many ways because they trusted. They had a manager in that would trust the youth players. Frank Lampard trusted his Tammy Abraham, Mason Mount. He's given opportunities throughout. Tomori, Reece James has come in, who looks really promising as well. So he's given those opportunities. The players have taken those opportunities. Chelsea are now in a position in the transfer window where they've got money because they've had 2 transfer windows where they haven't spent. So they've now actually got money. They've got Ziyech coming in from Ajax. They've got obviously Timo Werner. It looks like that's going to happen, which is a great signing. And Ben Chilwell, well, that doesn't seem to be going away at the moment, and they do need a left back. So you know, look out for Chelsea. Arsenal should take notes, I think, about how Chelsea have done it and the trust they've had in them, in the younger players. Mikel Arteta hasn't shied away from playing younger players and youth players. I think it's quite exciting. I think we all love, at any of our clubs, don't we, to see a young player come through and shine. I think it's just that story that we love so much, and we fall in love with those players. And you know, your Martinelli's been fantastic. He looks a real talent. He for me has been the standout player actually. Now I know Bukayo Saka will probably get talked about a lot as well. He's been fantastic. He's slotted in at left back when he's not a left back, he's a left midfielder, but he's done a fantastic job. But Martinelli, for me, just got that work rate and hunger. And I love that drive that he's got. He looks like he's ambitious and he wants to score goals and he wants to perform. He comes off if he comes off the bench, you know what he's going to give. He's going to give 100%. And I think, you know, those players come through. You've got Joe Willock as well in there. Reece Nelson, like you mentioned. It's good to see these young players coming through. And look, it's a transitional period at Arsenal. There's no doubt about it. You know, it wasn't that long ago that Arsene Wenger left after, 20-odd years in charge of Arsenal. So, you know, Arsenal fans still need to, let's just relax, give it time. And I think right now we've got it right with the manager, in my opinion. I think Mikel Arteta is the right person for the job. And look, it's not going to happen overnight, but give him time. I think hopefully we'll slowly see the Arsenal that everybody remembers coming back into the forefront.
I think I'll probably hear from troops when I say what I'm about to say. But I feel that the position that Arsenal is in now is somewhat as well Arsenal fans' fault, because for a long time, if you're a big club, then you're looking to win things, not just obviously the FA Cup, which doesn't mean as much anymore. But like you want to compete, you want to be in March, literally, you know, with a chance to be able to win the league. All right, okay, some people might fall off with a few games to go, but you want to be contending. And I think for too long, Arsenal fans were, you know, kept on saying, oh, okay, well, at least we're in the Champions League, but we finished 4th. And that mindset actually allowed, you know, the owner to be able to just like, you know, not really invest, not really push forward, just take the profits from the clubs, because obviously the fans weren't on his backside. Whereas I think with Liverpool, we've always been, because obviously for the history that we've had, I mean, like, okay, well, we should be contending, we should be competing, we should be winning things, we should be. So even if we were finishing 4th or 3rd, then it wasn't enough. It was like, okay, well, when's the next step? When are we going to be competing? So I think it's more relief with our mindset that we're where we're at right now, because I think we feel that we belong there. Whereas Arsenal fans for a long time, it's just the mindset changed to just being in the Champions League, and that's enough. And yeah, obviously, I'll see what you think about that.
No, I understand it. And look, I think there was a lot of stick handed to Arsenal fans in particular because of that 4th place, the 4th place trophy, etc., etc. Yeah. Now, ironically, now what's talked about more is getting in the Champions League and how important it is, and financially how beneficial it is for clubs to get in this. Let's just not forget that Arsenal did buy a new stadium and then have to pay that off. So had to live on a budget and still finished in the Champions League places to get the most amount of money possible into that club. But I do think you do have a point about the hierarchy, though, at Arsenal. Maybe they were satisfied with that because they're still making money off the club. You know, the club are still performing in Champions League, but we're not now. And they're not now for the last couple of seasons, and it's going to be another season. And that's where the profits are dropping and the income's dropping. And that's where the owner's got to have a look at himself and probably say, well, hold on a minute, what do I want from this project? Do I want to bring glory back to Arsenal? And Arsenal fans are desperate for that. I'd be surprised if you find an Arsenal fan who was celebrating wildly, in my opinion, coming fourth or third. You might have that instant relief if it's down to the last game, but you can sit back as an Arsenal fan and go, okay, that's okay, but it's still not what we want. We want to be at the top of the league. And your big clubs, that's what they want. Your clubs in between, you want to try and get European places. You want to get Champions League. If you're going through a transitional period as a club, getting in the Champions League is an achievement in my eyes. If Tottenham get in the Champions League this year, it'll be an achievement for them because they've transitioned, obviously, Pochettino out, Mourinho in. If Man United under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can get in there, they're never cheap. Frank Lampard with Chelsea, if he can get them back into the top 4 places, I think that's an achievement. He has overachieved. They've been out of that. Obviously, they're in the Champions League this year because of the Europa League glory last year. But it's improvements. And during these transitional periods, I think that's important to know. Liverpool haven't been in the Champions League spots this entire time. Let's not forget that. Just reminded you. It's not that easy to stay in there consistently. So look, but I get your point, and I do understand it. But trust me, as an Arsenal fan, desperate to get our club right at the top of the table, desperate for it. But it's going to take a bit of time.
I feel like this restart to the Premier League is like the entree to what will be next season, because it feels like this is a whole new season. So there's a lot to play for, and I think we're going to get a nice little taster. I think it's obviously, we know it's almost certain where it's going to finish. Andre, you really have that bottle of champagne on ice. You might have a cup already. The relegation places will be exciting. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. But we also have to realise as a final thought as well. There's still the Champions League. Man, out of the English teams that have a say, Man City are probably the only team that have a say in what they playing more Champions League football. 2-1 up in aggregate versus Real Madrid. Chelsea 3-0 loss to Bayern Munich. Don't worry about that. I think a refresh Real Madrid would be difficult for Man City, but you cannot underestimate the importance of Champions League football, and that is what that 4th spot is all about in the Premier League. So, gentlemen, final thoughts. Any wild predictions? Anything you feel like could stun us for this final couple of weeks of the Premier League, or is it just going to be business as usual, and we roll on to next season? Hopefully, we see a few new faces.
Any stuff?
When Champions League or
no,
Premier
in the
League?
league, in the Premier League, yeah.
I think Liverpool are going to come second.
I'd like that. Yeah.
You would never see me again.
Honestly, imagine if it happened. It wouldn't happen.
It wouldn't
happen. Look, I tell you, I think the 2 surprises that might happen: Sheffield United continue and get close. Right, I think that could be interesting, and that'd be fantastic if they did it. The interesting bit for me is going to be at the bottom of the table and relegation, and who's going to go down. And all I'll say is, West Ham fans, you should be very, very concerned right now. They are in deep trouble. Their fixtures coming up are pretty horrific as well. Or that could be the biggest shock. Move to a new stadium and then end up getting relegated. That would be my shock that I would look out for. But I tell you what, my final thought though, I'm just excited. Premier League's back. Football's properly back. We're getting back to a bit of normality again. I can't wait. What
about you, Joe?
It's nice to have something to be able to look forward to. I think a surprise will be
player of the season, Jordan Henderson.
Oh, that's a given. That's not even the discussion. I don't understand why people have got this thing against him, because I watched him against when I went to Tottenham, and he was literally conducting everything. He was everywhere. And I just think that just because his name is Jordan Henderson and because he's English, then it's like people are like, oh, he's rubbish. Whereas like if his name was Jimenez or something like that, then people will be like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. I think the surprise will be that I think that Man United won't get that Champions League spot. I think that they are geared up for it, and so much of their transfer business and moving forward, obviously, if they're going to get Sancho, if they're going to be bidding for other bigger players as well, I think that they need to get that spot. But I just got a feeling, as I said earlier on in the show, that it will be Tottenham or maybe Chelsea. Chelsea need to get it because another thing as well, like Timo Werner is not going to come to play in the Europa League. He will cut. And that deal hasn't gone through yet. So there's a few things to come. I don't know who's going to go down because a lot of those teams down there are just terrible. You can't pick someone who's like, okay, well maybe you shouldn't be down there. You should, because they're all majority of the ones that could be go down. I'm hoping it's not West Ham because I do like that ground, but. Yeah, it could possibly be them actually thinking about what James says. Actually, direct anything. Actually, it's down here. Direct all messages to James. If you do go down, because I'm rooting for you, West Ham fans.
I'm not saying I'm not rooting for them. I'm just saying that I would be very worried. And just throw one more spanner in the works as well. Man City's appeal over their Champions League ban. The Court of Arbitration of Sport don't accept that appeal. Then fifth place gets in the Champions League, so that opens it up. Sheffield United.
God, the Chris Wilder European Tour. Here we come.
Imagine, it'd be fantastic.
It would be. I feel like Chris Wilder. Final thoughts on that kind of situation there. I would love to think that Chris Wilder could be the Harry Redknapp that wasn't and become England manager one day. I'd like it.
It could.
Bit of brutality. I mean, Southgate has been a great manager, and I feel like Chris Wilder will be a respected enough name that people won't be like, no, we don't want that. We don't. I can't see anyone else, because I would have said that last year. I would always like to throw Eddie Howe into the mix. Well, I don't think he's managed big enough players, but was the crown of English managers as far as working with what he has. This year hasn't gone to plan, and a rise and come off the hour of Chris Wilder. It's an exciting moment. There's a lot to play for. Chelsea needs to be careful because with Werner not being in the Leipzig Champions League squad, so Chelsea need that Champions League football. He hasn't come all the way to London for nothing. West Ham, I agree with James. I think they probably are the ones to watch out. The momentum was bad. The feeling amongst the fans was troubled. And yes, they have a lot at stake. If they go down with what they have, I would disagree with Andre. I don't like the stadium. There's only one thing I liked about the stadium, so I used to live next to it. So if I wanted to watch a bit of Premier League football on a random Tuesday or Wednesday, you'd go on a fan resale, get a ticket, you'd go see a West Ham Man United match. On practicality sense, that was great. But that stadium is horrific. If there's ever a good thing, maybe they go down, have a rough few months, dismantle that stadium, build something else that's a little closer.
Serve them right, because Karen Brady was trying to get the league cancelled. So that'll serve you right. So if you do go down, not the fans, direct that at James down there. But
I didn't say what he's saying right now.
But I feel that you trying to get the league cancelled, just so you can stay up, is absolute disgrace. So that's karma coming back at you.
I like that. Well, on that note, gentlemen, we are moments away. So get on that Sky Sports, get watching those matches. As ever, Andre Dixon, thank you very much for joining us. James Green, legend, friend of the show, thank you as ever to bring in actual professional knowledge. Make sure to find James on all the social media platforms, Twitter and Instagram, James Green in the UK. Find us, Alternative Sport. Give us a subscribe. Why not? Even if you do it and you don't care, doesn't hurt you. Hit up Verge Magazine, our good friends. You can find lots of our amazing sport content there. The Premier League is back. We are back. It never left us. We will see you soon.
Go on the Reds!